So today we're going to be taking a deep dive into this book that I've heard a lot about.
Oh, yeah.
And it's been generating a lot of buzz.
Right.
And it basically asks this question of, what does it mean to be a man in today's world?
Yeah.
With all the changes that are happening in society and with technology and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's interesting is how it ties in those modern challenges to ancient wisdom,
Right.
and some pretty complex spiritual ideas like the C.T.M.U. and the C.T.M.U.
C.T.M.U. Okay, that's definitely not something you hear every day.
Yeah.
What's the connection there?
So the C.T.M.U. stands for the Cognitive Theoretic Model of the Universe.
Okay.
And it's basically a way of understanding reality itself.
Okay.
And the book uses it as a framework to explain how our consciousness interacts with the world around us.
So it's not just about observing reality, but actually shaping it.
Precisely.
Okay.
The book delves into quantum physics using the double slit experiment to show how observation impacts reality at a subatomic level.
Okay.
It takes this concept and suggests that we're active participants in creating our reality.
Hold on. So you're telling me that by simply observing something, we can actually change it?
In a sense, yes, the act of observation
Wow.
is not passive.
It's pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah, and the book goes even further by connecting this to the concept of cultural Marxism, which it argues aims to fragment society,
Yeah.
divide people into competing groups, and undermine a sense of shared reality.
So it's like on one hand, you have the C.T.M.U. that emphasizes interconnectedness.
Right.
And then on the other hand, you have cultural Marxism that seems to be doing the opposite, trying to break down those connections.
Exactly, and it suggests that throughout history, ideological manipulation has been used to control consciousness.
Okay.
And it uses examples like Nazi Germany and Soviet Russia, where regimes use propaganda to shape people's beliefs and control their perception of reality.
It's a bit unsettling.
It is.
This idea that our very perception of what's real can be manipulated.
Yeah.
So where does masculinity fit into all of this?
Right.
How does the book address being a man in the face of these potential challenges?
Well, that's where the book's focus on Stoicism comes in.
Okay.
It presents Stoicism not just as a philosophy, but as a practical blueprint for developing resilience and strength
Okay.
in the face of chaos.
Stoicism. I've heard of it.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I always thought it was about suppressing your emotion.
Right.
Like being some kind of emotionless robot.
That's a common misconception.
Okay.
The book clarifies that Stoicism isn't about being emotionless,
Right.
but rather about cultivating inner strength and learning to control your reactions to external events.
So it's more about having that inner strength,
Yes.
that core
Yes.
to weather the storms of life,
Exactly.
rather than letting those external factors dictate how you feel.
Precisely. And the book uses the example of Marcus Aurelius,
Okay.
the Roman emperor who faced incredible pressure and turmoil, yet found peace amidst the chaos through his Stoic practice.
Marcus Aurelius, that's the guy who wrote Meditations, right?
That's right.
I've always meant to check that out.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing to think that he was running an empire while finding time for introspection and self-improvement.
It is quite impressive.
Yeah.
And the book highlights how Marcus Aurelius embodied the Stoic ideal of finding strength and wisdom within,
Right.
even in the most challenging circumstance,
Yeah.
and argues that this kind of inner fortitude is an essential masculine trait.
Especially in today's world.
Yeah.
So it's about having that inner compass, that
Yeah.
sense of self
Yes.
that allows you to navigate the chaos and stay true to your values.
Precisely.
Okay.
And this ties into the book's warnings against getting caught up in materialism and chasing superficial success.
Okay.
It argues that those pursuits can actually distract us from cultivating true inner strength and spiritual growth.
I can see how that would be relevant today. We're bombarded with messages telling us, buy this, achieve that, be more like this person.
Right.
It's easy to get lost in all the noise.
Absolutely. It's a very noisy world out there.
Yeah.
And this book is essentially saying, hey, all that external stuff is a distraction.
Yeah.
It's keeping you from focusing on what truly matters, developing your inner strength, and connecting with something bigger than yourself.
So for our listeners out there, why is discipline so important in a world filled with all these distractions?
That's a crucial question.
Yeah.
And to answer it, we need to explore how this book tackles the double-edged sword of technology,
Okay.
which we'll get into after a quick break.
All right, sounds good.
Oh.
So we were talking about discipline, right? And the pull of all these external distractions.
Yeah.
But technology itself is a huge part of that.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
The book dives headfirst into this paradox.
Okay.
It acknowledges the incredible benefits that technology can bring, but it also sounds the alarm about the potential downsides, especially when it comes to things like AI and biotechnology.
Yeah, it's almost like a Faustian bargain in a way.
Yeah.
You know, we gain all this amazing technology,
Right.
but at what cost?
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And one of the most fascinating examples the book explores is life extension.
Okay.
Imagine if we could significantly extend our lifespans, maybe even indefinitely.
Right.
How would that change our understanding of spirituality and our place in the grand scheme of things?
That's a heavy question.
It is.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if we're meddling with forces we don't fully comprehend.
Right.
What does the book say about that?
Well, it doesn't shy away from those questions.
Okay.
It challenges us to consider the potential consequences, both positive and negative,
Right.
and how they align with our beliefs about life, death, and what comes after.
Okay.
The book also brings up Ray Kurzweil's predictions about the rate of technological advancement.
Oh, right. Kurzweil.
Yeah. He argues that we're not talking about 100 years of progress in the 21st century, but more like 20,000 years worth at today's pace.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's mind-boggling. So buckle up, everyone. Things are going to get pretty wild pretty fast.
Yeah.
But the book doesn't just leave us hanging with these, mind-blowing... It actually looks back at history for some perspective.
It does.
Right.
It points to the achievements of ancient civilizations like the Egyptians, the Romans, the Mayans.
Yeah.
It highlights structures like the pyramids, aqueducts, and ancient temples.
Right.
But it doesn't just see them as incredible feats of engineering.
It sees them as evidence that those civilizations align their technology with a higher purpose.
Exactly.
With spiritual principles.
Yes.
Like they weren't just building for the sake of building, they were connecting with something bigger than themselves.
Oh, precisely.
Yeah.
And the book challenges us to ask ourselves, what can we learn from these ancient cultures?
Right. Have we lost that sense of the sacred in our relentless pursuit of progress?
That's a great question.
Yeah. It's almost like we've traded wisdom for efficiency connection, for convenience.
That's a really insightful way to put it. And that brings us to another key concept from the book, The Red Pill.
Okay.
This idea of waking up to the lies we've been fed and seeing the world for what it truly is.
It's about questioning the narrative.
Yeah.
Like in The Matrix when Neo takes the red pill
Exactly.
and sees reality for the first time.
Yeah, the book has a great example of this with a character named John,
Okay.
a successful corporate lawyer who had everything money status, the corner office,
Wow.
but felt utterly empty inside.
Right.
He'd achieved what society told him was success,
Right.
but it wasn't fulfilling.
Yeah.
And the book uses John's story to illustrate how many men today are trapped in a system
Okay.
that doesn't align with their true purpose, their true selves.
So taking the red pill is about recognizing that disconnect.
Yes.
That feeling of being out of sync with what you're told to believe and how you're supposed to live.
Absolutely. And it's not just about seeing through the illusions.
Yeah.
It's about actively seeking truth, even if it's uncomfortable.
Right.
Even if it challenges everything you thought you knew.
Right. But as the book points out, that journey can be pretty tough.
It can be.
Because you're going against the grain. Right. You're challenging the status quo.
Yeah.
And that can bring up a lot of resistance, both internal and external.
For sure. The book talks about the societal pressures that men face.
Right.
To conform, to suppress their natural instinct, to fit into a mold that doesn't necessarily honor who they are. And it emphasizes the importance of developing psychological resilience to navigate that kind of environment.
So it's about having the strength to be your own man.
Yes.
To define your own path,
Yes.
even when the world is telling you to do otherwise.
Exactly.
That's not easy.
It's not. But the book offers a way forward.
Okay.
It encourages men to balance rationality with faith.
Okay.
And I don't mean religious faith necessarily, although that can be a part of it. It's more about cultivating a belief in something bigger than yourself.
Okay.
A sense of purpose that transcends the material world.
Because ultimately, this isn't just about surviving in a blue-pilled world, right? It's about thriving.
Yes.
About becoming the best version of yourself.
Exactly.
A version that's grounded in truth and purpose.
Yes.
But how do we even begin to do that? Where do we find that sense of purpose?
That's where the book's exploration of the eschaton becomes really powerful.
Okay.
Now, this might sound a bit esoteric, but bear with me.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What is the eschaton exactly?
It's a complex concept with a long history.
Okay.
But in essence, the eschaton refers to the culmination of history, the final state of things,
Okay.
often associated with a union with the divine.
Okay.
It's not simply about the end of the world,
Right.
but rather a transformation, a completion.
So it's not something to fear, but something to strive for, a kind of ultimate goal.
Exactly. And the book digs into biblical stories like Noah and Abraham, looking at how they teach us about aligning our lives with a higher will,
Okay.
about having the courage to face the unknown and build a better future.
Okay.
It suggests that understanding the eschaton can provide a roadmap for growth, both individually and collectively.
Okay. I'm starting to see how this all ties together, but it's a lot to take in.
It is.
What's the key takeaway here for our listeners?
Yeah.
How can understanding this concept, the eschaton, help them in their own lives?
Well, it's about recognizing that our lives have meaning and purpose, even in the midst of chaos and uncertainty.
Okay.
It's about seeing ourselves as part of something larger, something that transcends our individual existence.
Right.
And it's about having the faith and courage to step into that purpose, to become the best version of ourselves, not just for our own sake, but for the sake of the world.
That's powerful. But it's not just about individual growth, right?
Yeah.
The book also makes a strong argument for male leadership, especially in the face of modern challenges.
Absolutely. It calls on men to step up and lead, not in a domineering or ego-driven way, but with strength, wisdom, and compassion.
Right.
It argues that the world needs men who are grounded in their values, connected to their purpose, and willing to guide others through these turbulent times.
Yeah, but it's not about doing it alone.
It's not.
Right. The book emphasizes the importance of mentorship and brotherhood.
Yes.
It talks about the need for men to support each other,
Yeah.
to learn from each other, to build each other up. Why is that so crucial, especially in today's world?
Because the challenges men face today are often isolating and confusing.
Right.
There's a lot of pressure to conform to certain expectations, to suppress certain aspects of themselves.
Yeah.
Having a community of like-minded men, a brotherhood, provides a safe space to share struggles, celebrate victories, and offer guidance and support.
It's about having each other's back.
Yeah.
About creating a sense of belonging and shared purpose.
Exactly. And the book highlights the importance of mentorship,
Okay.
of having older, wiser men who have walked the path before
Yeah.
and can offer guidance and perspective.
It's like having a map and a compass when you're navigating uncharted territory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The book emphasizes that mentorship isn't just about receiving advice,
Right.
but about building a bond, a brotherhood where men can learn from each other, support each other, and hold each other accountable.
That makes a lot of sense. But the book also delves into some pretty controversial territory, particularly when it comes to its critique of feminism and gender ideology. Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Sure. The book doesn't mince words when it comes to its assessment of feminism's impact on society.
Okay.
It argues that while initially aiming for equality, feminism has gone too far, creating a climate of hostility towards traditional masculinity and undermining the natural order, as the book calls it.
That's a pretty bold statement. What specific criticisms does the book make?
Well, for starters, it claims that feminism has demonized traditional male traits like strength assertiveness and leadership, labeling them as toxic. It also criticizes the idea that gender is a social construct, arguing that this ignores biological realities and creates confusion, particularly for children. The book suggests that these ideologies have contributed to a crisis of masculinity, leaving men feeling lost and unsure of their place in the world.
So the book is essentially saying that these movements, while perhaps well-intentioned, have had some unintended negative consequences.
That's right. And it argues that these consequences are particularly detrimental to men, who are increasingly being told that their natural instincts and traditional roles are problematic.
Right.
The book sees this as a form of societal manipulation, aimed at disempowering men and dismantling the traditional family structure.
So it's about recognizing those narratives and reclaiming a sense of authentic masculinity, one that's grounded in strength, purpose, and a connection to something greater than oneself.
Exactly. And the book offers a roadmap for doing just that, drawing on both ancient wisdom and modern insight. But before we delve into that roadmap, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll explore the book's practical advice for men who are ready to step up and lead in a world that desperately needs their guidance.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from, quantum physics and the C.T.M.U. to ancient wisdom and the red pill.
Yeah.
It's clear that this book is challenging us to think differently about ourselves, about masculinity, and about our place in the world.
Right.
But it's not just about thinking, is it?
Absolutely not. The book goes beyond theory and offers a practical framework for men to reclaim their masculinity, to become the leaders, protectors, and providers that society needs.
Okay, so where do we even begin?
Right.
What are some concrete steps that men can take to start embodying this vision of masculinity?
Well, the book emphasizes a holistic approach, focusing on physical, mental, and spiritual development. One of the key pillars is the importance of physical strength. It argues that physical fitness isn't just about vanity, but about building discipline, resilience, and mental.
That's interesting, because a lot of people might see physical strength as superficial, but the book seems to connect it to a deeper kind of inner strength.
Exactly. It's about pushing your limits, overcoming challenges, and developing that warrior spirit. The book argues that this physical strength translates into mental and emotional resilience, equipping men to handle the pressures and obstacles of life.
So it's not about becoming a bodybuilder, but about cultivating that grit and determination that can help you face any challenge.
Precisely. And alongside physical strength, the book stresses the importance of mentorship.
Okay.
It encourages men to seek out older, wiser men who can guide them on their journey,
Right.
share their experiences, and offer support and perspective.
It's like having a seasoned guide when you're venturing into unfamiliar territory.
Yeah.
Someone who can help you navigate the pitfalls and stay on course.
Exact. The book emphasizes that mentorship isn't just about receiving advice, but about building a bond, a brotherhood where men can learn from each other, support each other, and hold each other accountable.
So it's about creating a community, a tribe, where men can connect, grow, and empower each other.
Yes, and the book argues that this kind of brotherhood is crucial in today's world where men are often bombarded with messages that undermine their confidence and make them question their role in society.
Because, let's face it, the world can be a confusing place for men right now.
It can be.
There are all these conflicting messages about what it means to be a man.
Absolutely. On one hand, we're told to be more sensitive,
Yeah.
more emotionally expressive.
Right.
But then on the other hand, we're told that traditional masculinity is toxic and outdated.
Right, it's a difficult tightrope to walk.
It is.
It's almost like men are being told to be everything and nothing at the same time.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And the book is saying, hey, enough is enough. It's time for men to reclaim their innate strengths, their natural instincts, and their rightful role in the world.
So it's about rediscovering that authentic masculinity, one that's not defined by external pressures, but by inner strength, purpose, and a connection to something greater.
Exactly. And the book provides a roadmap for doing just that. A roadmap that combines ancient wisdom with modern insights, practical advice with spiritual guidance.
This has been a truly fascinating deep dive.
It has.
But for our listeners who are intrigued and want to explore these ideas further, where can they go to learn more?
Well, this book is a treasure trove of insights and practical guidance. If you're ready to embark on this journey of self-discovery and reclaim your authentic masculinity, you can find the book on Amazon Kindle and Google Play Books.
It's definitely a deep dive, but as we've seen today, it's one that could lead to some pretty profound transformations. Thanks for joining us on this exploration. Till next time, keep questioning, keep growing, and keep striving to become the best version of yourself.